Are you in the middle of making a really important decision? Well, let me ask you this. How do you make that decision? Let me know down in the comments while I tell you how the biggest saints we've ever known had made their decision on who to replace Judas with. You might have read over it 100 times and not really understood the Hebrew meaning behind it. Believe it or not, it's something you may already do. So as you know, Judas turned in Jesus, and he passed away in this exact field, which is called the field of blood. So they had need to replace him. So then Jesus came down for 40 days and was basically outlining for them how to proceed. And then at the end of Acts chapter 1, it was time to name Judas's replacement. But how did they decide arguably the most important decision of the church since after the crucifixion of Jesus? And so they had appointed two people, so the decision was between two people. Joseph called Barsabas, who was surnamed Justus, and Matthias. And they prayed and said, Thou Lord, which knowest the hearts of all men, show us whether of these two you have chosen, that he may take part in this ministry and apostleship, from which Judas by transgression fell, that he might go to his own place. And they gave forth their lots, and the lot fell upon Matthias, and he was numbered with the 11 apostles. Gave forth their lots. What does that mean exactly? So in this Hebrew tradition, they would put letters or numbers on stones, twigs, other objects, and count on God's divine intervention by faith to select the one. Familiar? The very exact same concept as picking a straw or names in a jar. Except this was not gambling, neither was this divination. They cast their lots in faith to God that God would direct the outcome so they could make their decision. And again, this is not sinful, it's a very common Hebrew tradition from the Old to the New Testament. And the key here, and the big difference is, they did it in faith, expecting God himself only to move and to decide the decision, not in throwing the stones in random odds or trying to get insight from a demon. And this is how they made the most important decision of the church after the crucifixion of Jesus. So if you're hung up on that really important decision and you want to make sure you're doing God's will and not your own, maybe cast your lot to find God's will and do it in faith knowing he'll move.